I find that nowadays everybody's looking for giving themselves grace. There was
Yeah.
quite a while where people were struggling and being everything, and now they suddenly decided, forget it. I'm good as I am, and no improvement is needed. So
Mm.
So feel me when I bring it, sing it loud. I'm from the loot and I'm proud. Run a mile for the cause. I'm right.
Hi, guys. It's your girl, Nechama, your favorite Jew from the Lou. Welcome back to my podcast. And today I am so excited to have Elisheva Heit. Hello and
hello,
welcome.
hello.
And I'm really excited because we had talked about this, I think it was months ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. I was walking on Shabbos and I ran into you and Gila Jacobson.
Oh
And that
wow,
was
that is a long time
it was a
ago,
long time ago, and it was, like, the first time that I told you about it, and I think jokingly you were just like, "Oh, I totally should be on your podcast."
right? Of
And
course,
right.
naturally.
And for me, I was like, every time I meet someone who's interesting or even expresses interest, even just a little bit, I'm like, "Yeah, let's go." But at the same time,
You just put me on the back burner. But
no, at
just admit it.
this no, that's not what happened. What happened was I wasn't sure if you were serious because a lot of people have said to me that they wanna be guests, and
Hmm.
then, like, later they chicken out.
I don't flake.
Right. So when we were at the barbecue
Hmm.
at Hannah's house about a month ago, I want to say,
Something
when
like that.
Devora was here.
Yeah, yeah.
So this was no, this was by like Shavuos time.
Which is when Devorah was here.
Right. And then that was when I we were talking a little bit more about my podcast and like, you were like again like okay, like
Okay.
when? And I was like, "Oh, you were serious. Okay, let's go."
Wasn't serious.
Yeah.
Well, here I am.
And Hannah also was like, "Definitely you should have my mom on."
Hannah wants to make fun of me, but that's okay.
No, she doesn't. She was like, "You have so much interesting stuff to talk
Oh
about."
my gosh. I can
Yeah.
talk. Oh, yeah. I can definitely talk.
Yeah.
Whether everybody finds it interesting is a whole different story.
I think it's interesting. I think people love to hear conversations because nobody talks anymore. Everything's so surface level. Like, "Hi, hi, how are you?" "Oh, so great."
I guess I don't watch those things.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about just regular conversations in real life too.
Oh,
How
yeah.
often do you actually have, like, a really great conversation?
Oh my gosh, you should just come to my shop.
Maybe it's just you.
Oh my God. I mean, from Judaism to the meaning of life to what's for dinner.
You know what? That's what I love about being a barista, is the conversations that I get to have.
Unbelievable.
Because in the corporate world, I had to sit at my computer all day and just work. And it wasn't like those kinds of great conversations, but, like, even though I'm making, like, I think I'm making below minimum wage, but it's fine.
It's a learning curve.
It's a learning curve, and I'm gonna have my own business one day, so, like, it's not forever. But, I just believe that if you're ever gonna have a business, you should start from the ground up.
Totally agree. I did.
Yeah, you did,
I,
so let's
I, d-
talk about that.
yeah, I didn't get too far up from the ground financially.
Yeah.
Um, oh my gosh, but it was so marvelous. I
So
just really a typical starving artist, and that's it. And I loved it to pieces.
right.
Everything was right about it. Everything,
Mhm.
except obviously having to advertise myself and that kind of thing, because it's turned out not at all my thing, which I thought it wasn't, but I got like hard proof.
Yeah.
But it is amazing. It is amazing. Anything about it, talking to people, hearing what they want, um, really hearing what they want, and kind of managing to represent. Sometimes they don't really know what they want, and they kind of tell you. And then I usually ask like questions to point them in the right direction. And when they see what I heard and how I did it in flowers, they are thrilled.
They think you're magic.
Yeah, I think it's magic.
It is magic.
It is
Yeah.
what a good feeling, like you actually hurt somebody.
Mhm.
It is unbelievable. It is the nicest feeling ever. And of course, flowers, you can't get any better than that.
So I have to give a little preview because we know what we're talking about,
Right.
obviously. But just so everyone knows how we know each other, I mean, I've known you my whole life, but Anna, who will be on this podcast episode, I'm shouting out to you, so now you have to be on here. Her sister Devora was just on, and now her mom's on. Hannah is one of my best friends. We've been in the same class since fourth grade. Our classes were combined. She was the grade below me. And her mom, Elisheva, has a flower shop. And it
Yes.
started off in your basement. You were selling like chocolates and flowers.
Yeah, well, it started off, I was working for someone for 3 years, and then I figured, you can do it.
Yeah.
So then I did it out of my basement for a number of years, part-time, and then I had an opportunity to work for somebody who owned a flower shop, and I thought that's great because that's what I want. I'm gonna learn. And after about a year, she decided to close. So that was a gift. So I'm like, she's closing, I'm gonna open. And
Oh, wow.
that's what happened. And I sort of pulled myself by the, bootstraps kind of things.
That's what
And
they call it, bootstrapping.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
I think I had to strap like everything, not just
Yeah.
the boots. But 7 years down the line, I'm thrilled. Money never materialized really.
Yeah.
So I kind of poured all my love and all my money into that more than I took out.
The thing about that is Anna and I were talking about it because I'm very similar to you in the fact that I've got the passion, the creativity, wanting to connect with people.
Hmm.
But in business, I've heard recently, like, because I
Right,
listen to
that
a lot
doesn't
of,
make money.
right, a lot of podcasts and stuff will talk about how in a business, you actually need two people. You need the innovator and the integrator. And
Hmm.
so you and I are innovators. We're the
Definitely.
visionaries. We're the creative. We're the face and the heart and the soul.
Uh-huh.
But you need another person who's the other side of the brain who can like do the business and the money part.
Right. So I kept looking for somebody like that for a long, long time. Never,
Yeah.
never, it just never happened.
It's hard to find the right person.
It just never happened. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe I'm too intimidating to have somebody wanting to work with me. It's very possible, but it just never happened. So, on just passion alone, I don't know if you can make any money.
Right.
But I made a lot of friends.
Well, also let's not forget 7 years doing it on your own. It's really impressive. Most brick and mortar businesses close like within the first year.
Well, people have different levels of what they are willing to endure to survive. I'm pretty basic, so I don't need your major. If I don't go on vacation to on a cruise this year or any other year, and I've never been, it's okay.
Yeah.
So I'm cool. It was really my whole life. I would wake up and go to sleep thinking about it, and was marvelous, just marvelous.
Well, let's also not forget you one of the cool things is when I was working corporate, I even got a chance to support your business a little bit too because we had like our anniversary at our corporate
Yeah. Oh, that was
and
wonderful.
you got to do the flowers. They loved you. You did such a great job.
Oh, really? Because usually I just sort of drop it off and I don't hear that much from people.
Yeah, no, no, no. They were thrilled and they are not easy to impress, like at
Oh,
all.
cool.
So that
Nice.
was a huge one. And I think they used you a second time. It was even after I left the company and they asked for your number. I'm not sure if it ended up,
I have to say, honestly, I don't.
don't
There's so
remember.
many different connections. I
It
forget
could be.
a lot of them.
But I will say, like, part of the reason why I was like pushing, because like they're very in at the corporate world, everyone's into like accolades and what have they done, who have they worked with, and I was like, well, she did compete at the art museum.
All right.
So can we talk a little bit about that? Because I don't know if
Oh my
everybody
gosh, any
knows.
minute. It's my favorite thing to do.
Okay, so
Oh,
tell me everything about it.
okay. So Art and Bloom is an exhibit that local art museum does. They get florists and actually other artists to interpret art in flowers. They have curators choosing the art, and we pick it out completely randomly. What you get is what you get, and you get a month to think about it, and then you install your flowers in the art museum representing real art. And they've been doing it for probably close to 20 years. And I went there first few times, whenever that was, and I got so jealous of doing it. I wanted to do it so badly that I stopped going.
Oh, wow.
I just couldn't handle it was somebody else doing that.
You wanted to be part of it.
I wanted to be part of it so badly, but obviously there was I wasn't anywhere around that. So that was the end of it. And when I um when I at some point I just got brave enough and I applied and they approved me.
That's
And
amazing.
it was beyond. I mean, the first time I applied, I think it took about a month or so to wait for the results. And I was not breathing like for about a month. And when they approved me, it was incredible. And the first year I did it, my piece of art happened to be in like one of the largest galleries, like right off the entrance.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're
And
talking about.
and I stood there with a flow of people, and here are my flowers, and I'm standing next to my flowers. It was a completely out of body experience. I felt like I was actually floating about a foot off the ground. It was beyond.
That's so
It
cool.
was it was like, wow, my dream came true. And I happened to really be happy with how my flowers came out. Sometimes you have a vision, but you can't execute it exactly like you want.
Hmm.
And I had a vision, and my execution actually went a little above it. I was
Oh,
so
wow.
pleased. Unfortunately, I didn't win anything, but that's okay.
Yeah,
Not that time. I won a different time. So, oh my gosh, I loved it. And I did it, I think, 4 years in a row.
that's amazing.
4 years in a row, and then 1 year after Corona. Oh, it was incredible every single time.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Where like those kinds of experiences, I would argue, are worth more than money. I mean, you have to
Mm,
pay your bills, you have to be able to eat. I know.
right,
But at the
right.
same time, like the fact that you got to experience your dream, like there's people who like pay their bills and are financially responsible, but they don't live.
Well, some people don't really have this kind of dreams, which I also don't understand. But
I don't understand that. I think that's the creative in us. Like we just don't get how people
yeah,
cannot.
yeah. Sometimes I think of people who go to work faithfully every single day, and they bring the salary home, and like, oh my gosh, don't they go bunkers?
Yeah.
But maybe they don't.
Some people
Maybe that's all
don't.
they want.
Some people, I think that's true. I
Hard to
think
imagine for me, though.
it's hard to imagine for me as well. But maybe that's just the creatives in us. Like we just don't fit into it's like a round peg in a square hole, or
I don't know. I think I'm like, forget about square or whatever.
you're just your
Like,
own
too
unique.
many angles there.
I think it's so cool though. And I just think anytime you have the ability to pursue your passion and it doesn't personally, like, okay, yes, maybe financially the money never came through, but aren't you glad you tried and you got to have the opportunity all those years?
Yes, I am. But on the other hand, ask my kids, how was it that there was no financial contribution over there? Not very much. That part was really hard.
Yeah.
And I actually looked at it like a privilege. It was a privilege to be able to do something I want. And, a responsible person probably would have thought about the money. I thought about the art. So I'm privileged nobody wanted to kill me,
Yeah.
or at least didn't go with it.
But you have such a unique life too, also because like you immigrated here from Russia.
Right.
So what was that experience like for you too?
I was just thinking about it. It's been 32 years.
Hmm.
Um,
I'm just gonna pause for a second. My mom is really into gematria, which is like, I don't know how you say it in English, like numerology or whatever. Like for
yeah.
every Hebrew word, there's like the numerological, like, and there's all these codes and messages. So, anyways, 32, I'm turning into my mom as I get older. But like 32 is lave, which is heart and love. So, anyways, continue.
Look at that.
32
So it took
years.
me to 32 years to love it. Okay, wonderful. So when I came, I was just 20. So it's kind of hard to believe. I think everything was so abstract and so new, and pretty much everything was better than Russia anyway.
Yeah, that's
So
what I've heard.
uh, that's how it was. And now, like, I can't even imagine.
Do you have family over there still, or do they
I
all?
have three elderly aunts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I actually talk to two of them fairly often. They're very funny. I mean, they're like 80, 83, 86, and 93.
Yeah. But what was that like coming here at 20? I mean, did you speak English back then?
Yes, I actually
Okay.
did. I went to school that specialized in English, so I learned it
Oh,
from
that's great.
second grade up, and it happened to be the only, well, almost the only thing I liked.
Wow.
Because Russian school tends to lie about history, literature, sociology, all kinds of things, and I didn't like math. So
Me
between the
too.
lies and the math, English was the best.
Yeah.
And so I actually took interest, and I spoke some. And then, since I spoke the best of my whole family, they kept sticking me everywhere I needed to speak,
Mm,
which was awful. But in the end, again, I benefited out of it the most.
yeah.
And I love English to this day.
I think it's so interesting though, because I feel like you have always been really creative too. Because I remember when Devorah was in town, Devorah, Hannah, and I were hanging out that one Shabbos. I think you were there too for the meal. All three of us we were all eating at
Yeah.
Hannah's house, and then afterwards, like you went home, and like one thing that they were saying about you was they were saying like as a mother, they were like you were always the one with like all of your kids, taking them out, just you, being super creative. They were like wondering like how you did it.
Well, I don't know either. So that I
Maybe
have.
that's the secret of motherhood. You're just like trying your best.
You know what? Ask me. First of all, I don't remember half of it. I
That's
must have been somewhere, like somewhere else in my brain. Um, and also, clearly, when you're younger, you have a lot more energy.
yeah.
What I can do now, if I had to do what I had to do then, forget it. Forget it. I don't know. I would have run away into the wilderness and stayed there by myself. So, I always, then I still felt guilty that I didn't do enough.
I think that's every mother.
Right. Well, not
I've
right. I don't know.
I feel like there's a lot of mothers. It's actually, I'm still doing a little bit of graphic design work here and there. And one of my clients recently, she has this business called Reclaiming Motherhood. And she's working as a coach with other moms to help them realize that they are not as awful as they think they are. And that it's, motherhood is overwhelming. Life is overwhelming. Being a wife is overwhelming. Running a home is really overwhelming. So she has these weekly and monthly check-ins that they can do where they can give themselves grace and figure out ways to improve. And it's really, really nice.
I find that nowadays everybody's looking for giving themselves grace. There was
Yeah.
quite a while where people were struggling and being everything, and now they suddenly decided, forget it. I'm good as I am, and no improvement is needed. So
Mm,
that's kind of the other end of it, which is not my favorite, I have to say.
too extreme.
Right. So it's both extreme. Either extreme is not so great.
Right.
Um, who knows what's worse?
My mom talks about that. She was
Yeah.
like, I don't know what it is about your generation, but everyone is so tired all the time. They could barely handle. She's like, do you know what I was doing as a
Right. No,
mom?
it's not that they're tired. I think they don't have the driving force. So if it like with sleeping, the more you sleep, the more you want to sleep, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the driving force to do something, then nothing is driving you. So too bad, so sad. Then you're gonna find an excuse to pat yourself on the back and say, whatever I'm doing is enough.
So,
I'm good enough. I'm skinny enough. I'm fat enough.
oh,
I'm happy
interesting.
enough. I am accomplished enough. I don't have to prove to anybody who I am because I'm the best anyway.
That's so interesting.
That's sort of like the general assumption now, and I'm glad I'm not with them.
Yeah. So then what would your take on it be? Like, how can someone who doesn't have that driving force find it?
Um, I think it probably comes from um, it has to come from somewhere else. It can't come from inside us. Then it's sort of like based on what I think. There are bigger objectives out there. There is, you know, some kind of meaning of life that's supposed to drive you.
Yeah.
And well, obviously, I come from the point of God gives us a purpose, and we have to find that purpose and keep going with it. If you have that kind of objective, then you never do quite enough. You're never quite satisfied. Um, and you're supposed to. I would think you will self-correct. If you're going somewhere where your purpose and you're driving too fast, obviously something's going to break.
Right.
Like if you, I don't know, let's say push on the drill too hard, you're going to break the bit.
Right.
So that kind of thing, like you look outside yourself. I think now people look inside themselves, what I am and what I am expressing out of me. It's a little self-centered, and I think it doesn't get you very far.
Yeah.
But that's just what I think. I don't know. I don't know if somebody is not religious or not in tune or what they would do. But I definitely believe in that.
Yeah. I think it definitely helps to have like some sort of connection to like a higher power. I think our generation, not a lot of people connect to God anymore in the same way that previous generations did.
I think a lot, well, as time goes and technology develops, we have this funny, um, make a funny conclusion that, we are so omnipowerful and, we can do so much. It is obviously an illusion
Right.
because, you fix one thing, God throws another one at you. So, but we think we have solved so many problems. We solved mechanical problems and scientific problems and health problems. We developed all kinds of other problems that cannot be solved with technology and knowledge.
No,
It,
it's
it has
true.
to be solved with heart and soul and soul searching and all kinds of things. And people kind of forgetting.
Do you feel like you know what your purpose is?
That would make me a prophet. No. I hope I am try. I keep trying to tune in. Um, Considering my success with money, I know it's not my purpose. But who knows? I sometimes I question if I'm doing the right thing. Sometimes, all the time, I question what I'm doing the right thing. But I feel like there is some sort of, if I stray too far, God gives me certain like rail to
Yes.
get back on the rail.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes I feel more on the rail than other times.
Yeah, I feel that. It's like when you're driving on the highway and like you kind of like maybe nod off, aren't paying attention or something,
Oh yeah.
and then there's like the little ridge part where you're like your car
Uh-huh.
just shakes. It's kind of like life's like that too, where it's like gotta veer this
Oh
way.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, the shakes for sure.
I've noticed in life where it's like there have been times when like I kind of like whispers of the universe, right? Like you hear God like telling you certain signs, and I'll be like, no, 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 I'm not ready, or I don't want to do this. So I just stay in my lane doing what I'm doing. And the problem is if you don't listen and move with God, like when He tells you to do those things, then He'll force you in the direction, usually through something that's not so nice.
So I think my relationship is more like in Braille. I don't hear a thing,
That's so
or at least if I
funny.
hear it, I ignore it
Yeah.
until I am shoved and I can feel it with my hands and my bumps and my everything. Yeah, I need a little bit of louder. I need a bump. I need a
Listen,
on
we
the
all,
head often enough, with a
yeah.
brick often enough.
But one thing I'll say is I feel like you're very tenacious. Like you have so much tenacity and you're really creative. And I also feel like you aren't afraid of like starting over and reinventing yourself because you've done that so many different times in your life.
Well, um, yes and no. Sometimes you don't have a choice. You have to. I mean, what other alternative is there?
To give up, go into a state of depression, live a life that's just blah and vanilla and bland, which isn't you.
Well, I have gone into a state of depression. It's actually not a very comfortable state. You don't want to stay there.
No, you
So
don't.
you generally you want to get out.
Yeah. But it's
And
hard. Not
nothing
everybody can.
it's very hard. Yes, it's very hard. But being in it is not any easier. So you kind
Right.
of choose your hard.
Mm-hmm.
At least what if you try to get out, you get some kind of reward. If you stay there, you don't.
Right.
Oh, it's a miserable life. I wouldn't wish it on an enemy.
Right.
Being depressed is very, very difficult.
Oh, 100%. But I think that that fighting spirit is something you might take for granted just because it's my mom's the same way. She's like, this is just who I am. This is just what I do. Like, what am like exactly what are my alternatives? Stay in that depressed state. But I'm just saying I've seen people who do or who are just living in a negative headspace. And I know it's not easy to push yourself out of it, but I think it's very impressive. Like looking back on your life, moving to from Russia to America, and you had Dina at the time. Were you pregnant with her, or was
No, she was born in
she
Russia.
was born? So like that's also like with a newborn baby, like moving to a new country, even though you spoke English, it's very different hearing about America
Oh, yes, of course.
and living in America. Like Ezra's wife Shoshana, my cousin, um she was talking about how like she always wanted to come to America. She comes from Israel and she was just like in the movies, like it seemed to be like the land where there's so much money and you can make money so easily. And so when she came here, she was like, it's all shit. It's all a bunch of bullshit. Like, it's not true to a certain extent.
To a certain extent, the opportunities are a lot uh, wider and brighter and totally different.
Right.
Um, there is a lot more up to you here than elsewhere.
Correct.
I don't know about other things, it doesn't make it any easier.
Right.
But
It's not as
let's say in
easy as
Russia,
the
I'm not sure
movies.
about Israel, but in Russia, you are sort of given a groove, and very few people even try to get out of it. And the groove
Mm.
is very, very deep and very defined, and you're just stuck in there, and that's where you're gonna go. That is just depressing to think about. Here, okay, maybe some people have a deeper groove than others, but there is a lot more way to get out of it and find something else. And even if you fail, you still tried. In Russia, I don't think you even compelled to try.
Oh, wow. But maybe that's back to our earlier conversation. Maybe that's pretty similar to the mentality of a lot of people in corporate America. They get so ingrained in there's only one way to succeed, and that's by climbing the corporate ladder. I think part of what's been humbling for me stepping away from corporate America is seeing how many people and how many ways you could be successful without having a traditional job. It is possible.
Of course, it's possible, but also you have to define for yourself what successful is. If successful is an account in the bank, my life's worth nothing. So obviously, there has to be other ways. Um, People understand it certain ways. Maybe
Yeah,
success is achieving a status or a number or some kind of a level of whatever it is. Maybe for them that's success, and I'm sure there is some truth to that. If they're happy
yeah,
with that, then that's what it is.
for sure. But I think there's something to be said about what you just said, whereas I think the ability, like for me, like, yes, I'm making significantly less than I was making in corporate America, but the fact that I don't need to take a vacation from my life
Right. That's so important. Oh my
because
gosh.
every day, like, I was driving home from my 8-hour shift of being a barista yesterday, and I just had the biggest smile on my face because I was like, I get to do this every single day. Like, I get to chit chat and flirt and make coffee, and I love it. I love it so much. And like the people that I meet, sometimes it's just a little small interaction, sometimes it's a deeper conversation. I meet people from all over the world,
Oh my gosh.
all
My
walks of
map.
life.
My map.
You have a map?
I have a map with people. I happen to be next to university, so a lot of international students,
Oh, cool.
besides all kinds of tourists. And I have a map where if I find an interesting person or person with an accent, I ask them where they're from, and they put a pin in my map.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, it's a pride and joy of my life.
that's so
I
cool.
so love it. I have people from all over, absolutely all over.
Yeah.
The most underrepresented continent, well, not continent, country is Canada, believe it or not.
I do believe it, actually.
I have people from Australia. Well, I actually didn't have anybody from New Zealand, but I have Australia. I have
I
people.
met someone from New Zealand recently.
Oh, wow.
That's
So I
cool.
even had two people from Madagascar.
Oh,
And
wow.
I also always thought that, well, obviously joking, that there is only dancing lions and zebras in there. No,
Yeah.
there are humans. Oh my gosh, it is so, so interesting. So, so interesting. I loved it.
Yeah.
And asking people, oh my gosh, talking about which? Ask anybody from a third world country, do we want communism?
Oh, wow.
We do not.
Oh, no.
Ask
Yeah.
the right people. Nobody wants communism. Only Americans who are so spoiled they have no idea what they're talking
No
about.
idea.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, that's my
ridiculous.
soapbox. We do not want communism. Um, I was thinking that when I grow up, I want to create some kind of immigrant society where anybody who wants communism, we give them a free ticket to any of those countries.
Oh, yeah.
One way.
One way.
One way. One way we give them a free ticket and let them fly and find out for themselves.
That's right.
I think that's what needs to happen. Maybe
And,
they will stop doing stupid stuff.
and poisoning our country.
Right,
Right.
right, right. Communism is definitely a poison for any country.
Oh, yeah. It's wild. Do you want to talk about one thing that I think would be really interesting to discuss as well is your life as a single mom? Because that's not easy with 5 kids.
7.
You have 7 kids? Why did I think you had
Good
5?
morning.
Wait, there's Dina,
Believe
Shmuel,
me when I
Anna,
say
Emma. Oh my God, you're right.
I don't think anybody jokes about it. It's for
Anybody
real.
jokes, you're like, please.
Right.
If anyone would know, I
Yeah.
would know how many kids I had.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I thought there was just 5, but 7's a lot.
Well, it's 2 more.
No, I know, but like, I don't know. As someone who has no kids, like each new little life seems like a lot.
I have to say, if you talk numbers, after 3, it's pretty much a crowd.
Really?
Management wide, not obviously every person is a person,
Right.
but whether you cook dinner for 3 or for 7, it's just in mounts. You still have to do the same. You do all the same things just in volume.
Yeah.
So that actually is not any harder.
What a great way to look at it.
Well, yeah. I mean, the mortgage is the same for whatever amount of people are living in the house.
Hmm.
Electricity matters just so much, and so on. It just turns more into like a wholesale account. Um, but yeah, 7 kids is a lot of kids,
Yeah.
and you wanna connect with all of them the most you can, and you want to be on top of it the most you can, and each one is a soul. So you want to treat them as an only child,
Yeah. I feel like
which I can't say always happened.
it's not easy to with 7 kids. I feel like that's also part of the struggle with bigger
Considering
families.
considering the ratio, one parent
Yeah.
per 7, obviously, I'm sure each one of them at one point or another, probably more than one point, felt neglected, and totally understandable. And do I feel guilty? Of course I do. Of course I do. But on the other hand, now when they're grown, I see how much they mean to each other, and what the great siblings they are to each other. So
Mhm.
I guess I gave them, 6 extra people for each one of them separately.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Now that I see it,
Yeah.
it definitely I couldn't see it then.
Right. You were just trying to keep them alive
Right, keep
and
myself alive, a little bit of water, just enough.
yeah. Yeah. And then what's it like now also being a grandmother?
Unfortunately, I don't see my grandkids as much as I want to.
Yeah.
It's a little bit unreal. I I'm not ready. I'm not ready to think that I'm a grandmother.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's another sort of like out of body thing. Like my kid has a kid. Weird, very weird. But they're such cute little people.
They really are.
Oh my
Your
gosh, they
grandkids
are
are
so
so
cute.
cute.
And of course, I'm totally, objective.
I'm not object. I mean, I'm objective. So like when I look at them, they're so cute. Like Devora's kids especially.
Oh my God. Well, especially since you saw them.
But like they just stole my heart.
They can. They
Yeah.
definitely can.
Yeah.
The delight.
For sure.
But yeah, so it's I don't know how my grandmother. I have no idea.
I think you have such a beautiful life, to be honest.
Oh my gosh, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think you're
People should be jealous.
and I think you're kind of like a cat with 9 lives too. So even if you like fall, you always find a way to like land on your feet and figure yourself out
Okay. Well,
in some form or another. And I think you
I'll
always
take that if I'm on like my second life, maybe, because I need 7 more.
there you go. Take as many as you want. As long as you wake up in
Right?
the morning and just
Right.
start over. You know what I mean? Just keep trying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll take that any day.
I don't think I warned you about this ahead of time, but I do have this tradition at the end of each podcast episode. I like to ask each of my guests to share their favorite quote or life lesson. I know it's hard because there's so many,
Quotes. Oh, I have no memory for quotes.
or even maybe just a life lesson, just something that's really been something that's guided you and inspired you.
I actually heard something like that. I definitely wouldn't say it's a quote,
Hmm.
but that's something I agree with 100%. It's better to regret something you've done than something you haven't.
Oh, yeah, I
So
agree
I
with
try
that.
to do.
And I would add on to that a quote that I heard that I thought was hilarious that I like to live by, which is it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I never asked for permission.
Mm-hmm.
So there we are.
That's why you have so many adventures.
Right. I found out later. Maybe I shouldn't have, but
Right.
it's right.
I mean, sometimes I think,
This way I can teach somebody, don't do that.
yeah, you learn, and honestly, there's no lessons from success, only from failure.
I
Suc
wouldn't know.
I think you don't give yourself enough credit, you know? Like, even let's say with the flower shop, right? You're again, the view of making money, is it successful? The fact that you were able to take those steps, you worked for someone else, and then you started doing part-time out of your basement, and then you got an opportunity to work with someone, then you got opportunity to have your own shop for like 7 years, and then you also were like brave enough to like apply to Art and Bloom in the museum, and you even won an award one year for doing it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's such a big deal. And like, I think my perspective on it is, okay, we all want money. Who doesn't want money? But like the ability to see a vision and to have a passion and a dream and to try, even if you're not successful, whatever that means to you, the fact that you try, to me, that's successful.
Yeah, oh that. Yeah, that
Because you're not living in
without a
fear.
doubt, I would have biggest biggest fear of mine is to, be on proverbial deathbed and say, "Oh, I wish I,
Yeah.
fill in the blanks." I don't want to have any of those things. I want to say, I've tried everything I could possibly try.
From hell or high water,
Exactly.
I did the thing.
Exactly. Exactly. And
And you
sorry I ran
can.
out of time to try more things.
Right. I,
That's how I want it. Yeah.
Yeah. I had this conversation, and we'll end on this note, but I had this conversation really with a coworker literally yesterday. She asked me if I knew what my purpose was. And it just came to me, and I was like, I think my purpose is to be a light, like be a light unto the nations, like the Jewish people, right? But I think more like on a personal level, like I think that my purpose in this world is to connect with people. And
Very
what
very well could be.
in what because I'm really good at speaking, I'm really good at listening. And so whether it's a podcast or a coffee shop or just having meaningful conversations with the people who flow into my life, I think that's my purpose.
Very well could be true. And you know what? We need those people,
Mhm.
because people who are looking just in front of them, their nose and in their calculations or whatever else it is,
Yeah.
plenty of those, and I don't think that's particularly exciting for themselves or for anybody around.
No. And that's what this whole podcast is about. Like there's this quote from Pirkei Avos where it was Ezehu Chacham Halomein Mikol Adam. One who is
Mm-hmm.
wise is one who learns from everyone. That's my thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
This was so great. Thanks
Thank
for
you. Thank you.
coming
We
on.
went over time.
Just a little bit, but
Okay.
not
I
too
was I was
much.
looking.
I know you were looking. I know we said it was going to be a shorter podcast episode because I know you don't want to do it for too long, but I really
Uh,
appreciate the time. Thank you so
My
much for
ple-
coming on.
my pleasure. My
And
pleasure. And now I can say I've tried that too.
you've tried that too. You've been on a podcast, and now hopefully you might be on more. You never know.
You never know. Next time on TV.
But I think you're just such an inspiration for like
Oh,
always going after what you want, honestly. Like, in my opinion, objectively, just looking at you, I've always viewed you as someone who was so creative, so strong, so ambitious, and I've always really
oh,
admired you. So,
oh,
so
thank
thank
you.
you.
See, I need to go on the podcast to hear that.
Yeah,
Love it.
it's worth it just for
I
that,
love it.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And coffee.
And coffee, yes. Well, thank you guys for listening. This is another fabulous episode. And if you're not already watching this, you can watch it on YouTube, and Spotify has the video as
Oh,
well.
wow.
But it's on all of the streaming platforms wherever you listen to podcasts. And as per usual, my request is that if you enjoy this episode, please share it with a friend, subscribe, and like it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great week, you guys. Let's get it. Let's go.